No one wanted the alien girl at the auction. Until a human stepped forward, the grand hall of Carrion Slave Auction House was filled with hundreds of alien buyers, lizard-like warriors, robotic merchants, and floating creatures made of gas. The air smelled of metal and fear. Bright lights flashed over the stage as the auctioneer shouted prices and slammed his glowing hammer again and again. Cages rolled across the stage one after another. Some held captured soldiers, some held young alien children. Each one was sold in seconds. The crowd cheered, credits were exchanged, slaves were dragged away. Finally, the auctioneer wiped his forehead and smiled widely. "Ladies and gentle creatures," he shouted, voice echoing across the hall, "we have reached the final item of today's auction, and this one is special." The lights dimmed. A new cage rose slowly from beneath the floor. Unlike the others, this cage was not made of metal. It was covered in black energy chains, pulsing like angry lightning. The crowd fell silent. Inside sat a young alien girl, maybe no older than 18. Her skin was pale silver, glowing faintly under the light. Long white hair fell over her face like a curtain. Her hands and feet were locked in glowing cuffs. But her back was straight, and her head was lifted with pride. She did not look afraid. Whispers spread across the crowd like fire. "That's her, the untamable one. They say she killed 3 guards during transport. No species records, no name, no language detected. She is pure danger." The auctioneer stepped forward carefully. "This creature," he announced, "was captured on an unmarked planet. No data, no history. She has refused all commands. She cannot be controlled. But, for those who dare," he raised his hands dramatically, "she could fetch a high price." He paused, waiting for the first bid. But nobody spoke. No Han. It was raised. Even the bravest alien warriors stayed quiet. A soft growl of frustration came from the auctioneer. "Come now, surely someone wants to own such a rare being." Still silence. The girl inside the cage lifted her head slowly. Her eyes, glowing bright blue like burning stars, scanned the hall with cold hatred. Every creature who met her gaze looked away instantly. No one wanted to buy a living death sentence. The auctioneer slammed his hammer loudly. 5,000 credits! Who will start at 5,000? No response. 3,000? Silence. Fine. 1,000. Come on, someone take her before I lose money. The audience shifted uncomfortably. No one dared. And then, a single voice spoke from the back. "I'll buy her." Every head turned. A human man walked forward through the crowd. He wore plain dark clothing, no armor, no weapons. A simple traveler's coat over his shoulders. His face was calm, almost gentle, no fear in his eyes. A few aliens laughed. "A human? Is he mad? He'll be dead in a day." The auctioneer blinked in surprise. "You wish to purchase the untamable one?" "Yes," the man replied softly. The auctioneer hesitated. "You heard the warnings. She is violent. She cannot be controlled." The human simply said, "I'll take her anyway." A hush fell over the hall. The alien girl inside the cage stared at him. She did not blink. She did not understand. Why would someone willingly approach her? The auctioneer cleared his throat. "Very well. Sold. For 1,000 credits to the human buyer." He slammed the hammer down. The moment the sound echoed, the hall exploded with murmurs. Fool. He's going to regret this. He won't survive the night. But the human did not react to any of them. He stepped toward the cage calmly as guards cautiously lowered the energy chains. For the first time, the girl spoke, her voice low and sharp like broken glass. "You will die." The human paused only for a moment, then smiled gently. "Maybe," he said, "but not today. If you are enjoying this kind of HFY sci-fi story, do consider subscribing. It helps a lot, and I'll bring you the next part soon. The girl did not walk willingly. Her feet were chained, and 2 guards carried her out of the auction hall on a floating grav board. The human walked beside her, calm, silent, as if escorting a guest instead of a living weapon. The alien audience stayed far back, whispering like frightened insects. Dead man walking. He'll be torn apart before sunrise. He doesn't understand what he bought. The girl heard every word. She didn't care. She kept her eyes on the human, watching, studying, waiting for the right moment to kill. They reached the landing bay, where the human's ship waited. Not a warship, not even a trader vessel. It looked old, worn down by travel, painted with scratches instead of pride. A ship that survived not by strength, but luck. The guards laid her grav board down beside the ramp. One of them leaned close to the human and whispered, "Take my advice. Don't sleep tonight." The human simply nodded. Noted. Then the guards quickly left, almost ran, as if standing too close to her for even one more second was dangerous. Inside the ship's interior was surprisingly clean, small but warm, like a personal shelter rather than a machine. The lights were soft yellow, not harsh white like prison cells. He unlocked the grav board and gently helped her sit on a seat, still chained. She expected restraints, force, control. Instead, he gave her water, a simple metal cup. He placed it in her hands and stepped back, far out of her reach. She stared at the cup, suspicious. Water was rare on some slave ships. Sometimes they drugged it. She sniffed it. Normal. She threw it on the floor. If he was testing her, she refused to play. First words in private, the ship slowly ascended, leaving the planet behind. As the stars appeared through the window, the human finally spoke. "What's your name?" Silence. She glared at him. He continued anyway. "You must have one." She responded with a low growl. "Names are for free beings." The human nodded slowly. "Then I'll wait until you're free." She narrowed her eyes at him. Free. No master had ever said that. The escape attempt. Hours passed in silence. The human sat across from her, reading something on a data tablet, not watching her like a guard, but staying alert like someone sitting near a dangerous fire. Then, she moved. Her cuffs crackled with energy as she twisted her wrists unnaturally, bones grinding, skin burning, and the chain snapped loose. For the first time, she was unrestrained. She lunged at him with lightning speed, her hands forming a killing strike aimed at his throat. But before she could reach him, the ship's AI triggered defense drones. 3 floating spheres dropped from the ceiling, each aiming plasma cannons directly at her skull. Hostile detected, neutralizing target in 3 seconds. She froze, snarled, ready to die fighting. But then, the human shouted, "Stand down! She is not hostile." The drones paused. "Override security protocol," he ordered. "Negative," replied the AI. "She attempted lethal action. She must be contained." And then, he did something insane. He stepped in front of her, shielding her from the drones. "Then shoot me first." The drones hesitated. Their programming struggled with logic. "Protecting hostile violates—" "I am the registered owner of this ship," he said firmly. "She is under my protection. If you fire, you attack your captain." Silence. The drones slowly retracted. Security override accepted. They floated back to the ceiling. He lowered his arms, blood dripping from a small burn on his sleeve. One of the drones had grazed him in the process. She stared at him, confused. angry, lost. "Why?" she demanded. "Why protect me?" He wiped the burn casually. "Because no one else will." She didn't reply. Not because she had no answer, but because, for the first time, she did not know if she wanted to kill him anymore. She sat in silence after the drones retreated. Her chains were still broken, but she did not attack again. Not because she trusted him, but because she was confused. No master had ever protected her before. Humans were known across the galaxy for their stubborn bravery, sometimes stupid, sometimes admirable. She wasn't sure which one he was yet. The human sat back down slowly, not close, not far, exactly at a distance that showed caution, not fear. He didn't force her to speak. He didn't order her to sit. He simply opened a metal container and placed it on the table between them. Food, a warm meal, steaming gently in the quiet cabin. She ignored it. He took a bite himself, showing it wasn't poisoned, then pushed it toward her again. She glanced at him, then away. Pride held her back. Minutes passed. The food scent filled the cabin. Her body, starved for days, betrayed her. Her hands trembled slightly, and finally, she grabbed the plate and began eating, fast, like a wolf. He didn't watch her. He respectfully looked away. That was new. The question, when she finished, she wiped her mouth with her arm and looked at him sharply. "You are not like the others." He raised an eyebrow, amused. "Is that an insult or a compliment?" "Neither. It is a warning." He nodded calmly. Warning accepted. She leaned forward, voice low and threatening. "You protect me now. But when I escape, I will not spare you." He didn't flinch. "Then I will free you before you escape." She froze. That sentence made no sense. "Why?" she demanded. "Why speak of freedom?" "You bought me. You own me." He shook his head. "I didn't buy you to own you. I bought you to stop others from owning you." Her heartbeat, which had been steady like stone, suddenly felt unsteady. What manner of creature acts against profit? Suspicion. She narrowed her eyes. "You want something. Nobody gives without wanting more." He thought for a moment. "I want one thing," he said. She tensed. "Here it comes. The request. The demand. The real reason. I want you to live." Of all answers, that one was the hardest to believe. She scoffed. "That is not a request. That is not a command. That is meaningless." He looked directly into her glowing blue eyes. His voice was steady. "Not meaningless," he said, "because someone once said the same to me, and because of that, I'm still alive." She tilted her head slightly. Someone saved him? A human. Testing him. She stood slowly. The chains around her wrists hung loose. One good strike, and she could crush his skull. She stepped toward him. He didn't move. Another step. Still no reaction. She stood right in front of him. Her shadow fell over his face. His eyes remained calm, not brave, accepting, as if he had already made peace with whatever she chose. She raised her arm, not to strike, but slowly placing her clawed hand around his throat, not pressing, just resting. She leaned close. "Give me one reason," she whispered coldly, "to not kill you." He answered without hesitation. "Because I am the first one who asked your name, and meant it." She froze. Her grip loosened. Her chest rose and fell with strange rhythm. She didn't understand this feeling. Rage was familiar, Hate was familiar. But this? She pulled her hand back. Not because she couldn't kill him, but because she chose not to. Her first answer. My name, she said quietly, almost to herself, belongs to a world that no longer exists. He nodded. Then tell me when you are ready. I'll wait. She turned away, sat back down, silent again, but no longer hostile. For the first time, she stayed because she wanted to. Oh, not because she was chained. The ship drifted through hyperspace, engines humming like a distant heartbeat. For hours, neither of them spoke. The human checked flight controls, occasionally glancing at her, not with fear, but with patience. She sat near the wall, knees pulled close, staring out the window at the purple-blue streaks of light in hyperspace. She had never seen such beauty without bars in front of her face. But peace was dangerous. Peace made memories return. She remembered flames, her world burning, metal ships descending from the sky, her people fighting, losing. She remembered being captured, trapped in shock cuffs, thrown into a cage while her home turned to ash. And worst of all, she remembered the silence when no one came for her. Anger built in her chest like pressure beneath a volcano. Her breathing grew faster, her hands curled into fists. She looked at the human. He stood at the controls, unaware of the storm inside her. And suddenly, she snapped. The second attack. With a feral cry, she leapt across the room, faster than before. The human barely had time to turn before she tackled him to the ground, pinning him with both arms. But this time, she didn't go for his throat. She went for something worse. She wrapped her hand around his oxygen mask connector, threatening to tear it off. In space, even small damage could mean death. Her voice trembled with rage. Why did you save me? He grunted under her grip, but didn't fight back. Her eyes blazed blue. Answer me! He coughed slightly. His voice was calm. Because I didn't want you to die alone. Her hand froze on his suit. No master would say that. No captor would care. She stared at him, breathing heavily, hand still gripping his life support valve. She could kill him, right here, one twist. But her fingers wouldn't close. Something inside her rebelled. Unexpected danger. Suddenly, alarm warning. The ship's AI spoke sharply. Warning, enemy vessel approaching. Pirate signature detected. Red lights flashed. She looked up in confusion. The human stayed pinned beneath her, but his eyes flicked to the screen. Pirates, he said. They must have tracked us from the auction. She narrowed her eyes. Your enemies? He shook his head. Our enemies now. She didn't understand at first, but then the ship shook violently as laser fire struck the hull. She stumbled, instinctively catching herself on the wall. The human stood quickly and slid into the pilot seat. He didn't lock her up. He didn't even watch her. He just said, without looking back, if you want to kill me, do it after we survive this. A choice. She stood there, free, unchained. She could run to the escape pod and leave him. She could sabotage the ship. She could attack again. But instead, she turned toward the control panel beside him. Her fingers danced across alien symbols with perfect precision, activating defensive shields manually. He glanced at her, slightly surprised. You've flown ships before? She didn't answer. The ship shook again, pirates closing in, hull temperature rising, shield at 40%. The AI spoke, shields failing, evasive action required. The human gripped the controls. She grabbed the co-pilot handle instinctively. They looked at each other. For the first time, they were fighting the same enemy. The cliffhanger, as the pirate ship came into full view through the cockpit window. Heavily armed and twice their size, the AI spoke one more line. Incoming boarding pod detected. Enemy breach in 10 seconds. The human turned to her and said, "If you still plan to kill me, save it for after we kill them first." She didn't smile, but her eyes burned with something new. Not rage, purpose. She cracked her knuckles, blue energy, flaring around her fists like lightning. Let them come. The pirate boarding pod slammed into the ship's side with a deafening metallic roar. The impact shook the cabin. Sparks flew from the ceiling as the hull groaned under the force. The AI's voice echoed cold and emotionless. Breach detected. 10 hostile life forms entering lower deck. The human stood from the pilot seat, gripping a compact blaster from the emergency rack. He didn't turn it toward her, only toward the hallway. She noticed that. He still did not treat her as a prisoner. Not even now. Her glowing blue eyes followed him as he checked the gun's power level. 1 weapon, 10 pirates. He didn't stand a chance. He knew it. She knew it. And yet, he walked forward without hesitation. She spoke before she could even stop herself. Fool. He paused slightly but didn't look back. Probably. She stepped beside him. Not behind, not ahead, beside. He glanced at her. Her chains still hung from her wrists, broken and sparking. Her hands were clenched, crackling with blue energy. "You fight," she said firmly. "I destroy." He almost smiled. "Sounds fair." The pirates. The lower deck door burst open. 10 pirates stormed in. Reptilian raiders with jagged blades, cybernetic limbs, and rusty blasters. Their armor was decorated with trophy skulls. They froze when they saw her. The leader spat. "The untamable one, worth a fortune." He pointed to the human. "And you, the idiot who bought her, bonus profit." They raised their guns. She didn't wait. She shot forward like lightning, closing the distance before they could fire. Her fist struck the first pirate's chest. Armor shattered like glass, and his body slammed into the wall. She didn't stop. A savage kick sent another flying down the hall. The pirates panicked. "Shoot her! Shoot them both!" Blaster fire filled the corridor, bright red bolts scorching the walls. The human ducked behind, sit a crate, returning fire with quick precision. She ignored the shots completely, her skin crackling with blue shield energy. She tore weapons apart with her bare hands. And yet, one pirate slipped past her and raised his rifle toward the human's exposed side. He didn't see it. She did. For 1 split second, instinct moved faster than thought. She threw herself in front of the shot. A blaster bolt struck her shoulder, burning through silver flesh. She stumbled. The human turned in shock. "You." She didn't let him finish. She ripped the pirate in half. The real pain. The fight ended quickly after that. 8 broken bodies lay scattered. The last pirate tried to run. She caught him by the neck and slammed him into the wall. But then, something happened that surprised her even more than battle. The human grabbed her arm. "Don't." She turned sharply, eyes blazing. "He tried to kill you," she growled. "And you saved me," he said quietly. "That's enough." Her grip loosened. The pirate collapsed unconscious. She looked at the human, confused. Again. "Why stop me?" His answer was calm. "Because victory is not just about surviving. It's about choosing what kind of survivor you want to be." She stared at him. Words came slowly. "You speak like a warrior who lost once." His silence confirmed it. The shift. She looked down at her wounded shoulder. Blue energy sparked weakly over the burn. The pain should have been unbearable, but she barely felt it, because something stranger hurt more, something she didn't understand. The human approached slowly, not touching her without permission, and offered a medical patch. She didn't take it, but she didn't refuse either. He applied it gently, sealing the wound. She watched him closely. "How many battles have you fought?" she asked. He shrugged. "Enough to know that saving one life makes more difference than ending 10. She looked at the unconscious pirate on the ground, and then at him. Her voice softened for the first time. "Then I will save yours, until I understand why." "Then I will save yours, until I understand why." He nodded once. "Deal." She didn't smile. But inside, something changed. She was no longer just a weapon reacting to chains. She was now choosing. Choosing to fight. Choosing to protect. Not because she was ordered, but because, for the first time, someone had chosen to protect her. After the battle, silence filled the ship. The unconscious pirates were restrained in the cargo hold. The alarms faded. Only the soft hum of the engine remained. The human sat at the control deck, adjusting the course. He didn't speak. He didn't question her. He simply gave her space. She stood near the viewport, staring into the endless void of space. Her shoulder had healed, but her chest felt heavy, not with pain, with memory. For years she had remained silent, not because she was mute, but because nobody had earned the right to hear her story. Until now. Without turning to face him, she spoke. "My world was called Elunara." The human looked up. She continued. "It was not a war planet, not a kingdom. It was peaceful." Her eyes reflected distant starlight. "Every child of my people was born with energy inside, pure, bright, like the heart of a star. We used it not for battle, but for healing, for growth." Her hand pressed gently against the glass. The galaxy envied us. Her voice grew colder. And so they came. The day her world died, first came the traders, friendly, smiling, offering gifts. Her fingers curled slowly. Then came the soldiers, not friendly, not smiling. She closed her eyes, forcing herself to continue. They learned that our power could be harnessed, stored, sold, turned into living batteries. The human flinched slightly. She nodded, as if hearing his thoughts. "Yes, they strapped us to machines. They drained our life for fuel. My family, my people, died glowing." Her voice died. It did not crack. It was steady, sharp, deadly. "I was the last taken alive from my sector. They tried to drain me too." She raised her arm, blue sparks flickering across her veins. But they could not. The human leaned forward, listening intently. "Why not?" She turned slowly to face him. "Because I am not like the others. My power is not only healing, it is adaptive. It learned from pain. It grew. It broke their machines. And when they tried again, I broke them." Her glowing eyes dimmed. But I was too late. My world was already gone. The question that cut deep. There was silence. The human didn't pity her. He didn't apologize for something he hadn't done. Instead, he asked, "If you could rebuild your world, would you?" She blinked. It was a strange question. She had expected many things: sympathy, promises, revenge. But rebuilding? "Why ask that?" she muttered. He stood and walked closer, not too close. "Because I want to know," he said gently. "Are you living to destroy or to create?" The room felt still. She didn't answer immediately. Her whole life since capture had been reaction: kill or be killed, survive or perish. But creation, that word felt foreign, unreachable. And yet, She remembered her mother's voice, her father's laughter, the sound of wind across crystal trees, children dancing with light in their hands. She remembered home, and for the first time in years, she wanted something beyond survival. Her voice came out quiet, almost fragile. I would rebuild. The human nodded once. Then you're not a weapon, he said. You're a survivor waiting to become a guardian. She stared at him, not with hate, not with confusion, but with recognition. This is why you saved me, she murmured. No, he corrected softly. This is why you will save others. The signal. Before she could reply, the AI interrupted. Alert, incoming transmission. They turned to the screen. It flickered to life. A hologram appeared, tall, armored, face hidden behind a metallic mask with burning red eyes. Her breath stopped. She knew that mask. It was the emblem of the Order of Harvesters, the same group who destroyed her world. The masked figure spoke. This is Warden Kale of the Harvester Fleet. We have tracked our property. Surrender the specimen at once or be eliminated. The human stepped forward calmly. She's not your property. The masked figure tilted his head slightly. Then you will die for her. Her hands trembled, but not with fear, with rage and clarity combined. She took a step forward, placing herself beside the human, equal, not protected. No, she said coldly, you will die for what you did to my world. The masked warden laughed. You think you can stop us? She looked at him with burning eyes. I don't think. Blue energy crackled all around her like lightning in a storm. I know. The hologram of Warden Kyle flickered on the screen, his masked face glowing red with arrogance. You cannot hide her. She belongs to us. The alien girl took one step forward, her voice calm, almost too calm. I belonged to no one before you invaded my world. I will belong to no one now. Kyle's laughter was metallic, bold words for a runaway experiment. The human stood beside her, silent, steady. She glanced at him, then back to the screen. No more words. She lifted her hand, and the ship's energy surged. Without touching a control, she sent a shockwave of blue power through space, blasting outward like a star being born. The enemy fleet, 5 harvester ships lurking in the distance, flickered on sensors. Their shields began failing, their engines overloaded. Kyle's voice glitched. What? What are you? She didn't attack directly. She simply took back the power they stole from her people. Every harvester ship that had once fed on Elunara's stolen energy began collapsing internally, unable to handle the sudden reversal. Ships trembled, legs. HTS burst, metal shrieked. In one motion, she crippled an entire fleet, not with weapons, with will. The moment of judgment, Kale's hologram flickered in panic. You demon, finish it, kill us if you dare. She stared at him, breathing slowly. Every cell in her body screamed for vengeance. She saw her burned home in his eyes. Her people's screams echoed in her mind. She could end them all, right now. But she remembered the human's voice. Victory is not just about surviving, it's about choosing what kind of survivor you want to be. The storm inside her calmed. She extended her hand toward the hologram, glowing like a star. I am not your weapon. Her voice echoed across every harvester channel. I am the last memory of Elunara. She lowered her hand. Leave now. Never hunt again, or I will return. There was silence. The enemies, once ruthless, now trembled in fear. Kale said nothing. Then, retreat. The harvester ships slowly turned away, engines sputtering, shame burning. A new oath. As the signal cut off, silence filled the command deck. The human turned to her. No words, no congratulations, just respect. She stood tall, not as a prisoner, not as a weapon, but as a chosen protector. He asked quietly, "What will you do now?" She looked out into the stars. "I will rebuild Elunara." He nodded. "And until then?" he asked. She glanced at him, and for the first time, her expression softened. "Until then, I will protect every world like mine, starting with yours." She was once the untamable one. Now she was something far more dangerous, a free being, taught mercy by a human.